Thank you very much. We spoke about connected cars before, and I was thinking we are connected men because I was in the panel and I was getting a call from Brazil, and then my Apple Watch was also vibrating, and then now I have the microphone and they have the clicker, so we are also becoming connected men. It is a very challenging life. So, thank you for being back. Still most people are resisting and enduring after the break. The topic is close to the topic of the panel, only that now I'm the only one speaking to you. And the idea is to share with you in 20-25 minutes maximum some of my views about how should dealers do business in the digital world. Because the word digital is a strange word. I think it will disappear. In a few years, we will not speak about digital because everything will already have become digital. So it's good to talk about it now before it disappears. Before I forget, all of you, if your agenda allows, are invited next week in Verona to our Automotive Dealer Day. It's the 14th edition. It's a big event, and when I come to Turkey, I always look at your screen, and because we always say around the world we have a big screen, then I look at yours. Oh, it's almost the same. So you guys are a very big screen, and it's a nice competition. So congratulations also to the organization and the setup. So this was not to forget for me. You will be invited. If you want to come, you'll be our guest. So we need to enter digital territory. We need to enter the territory with our minds, with our companies, with our hearts, because it's already around us. And no surprise that now the most important auto show in the world is the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. This is where, in January every year, the car companies are presenting their innovation, and they are listening to innovations. So this is now the bigger auto show, the Consumer Electronics Show. So this is about digital, and this is about consumer. It's not about cars and the way they are designed, but it's about consumer interaction. This is a sign of the times. All car companies are being there. And the Mobile World Congress was held in Barcelona a few months ago in Spain. Ford decided not to go to a big European motor show and to invest in the presence in the Mobile World Congress. Again, this is a proof that the world is changing. We need to think digital, we need to think consumer. And things change because Uber is the startup which is valued over $60 billion. It's a very scary amount of money. I cannot even imagine how much money is that. And it's a company doing mobility without owning cars. Uber is showing to us that what is important now is the information, is the code, is the customer relationship, rather than owning things, owning walls, owning stores, owning cars. And Google, a lot of Google driving, self-driving cars in the news for the past months and now almost years. You probably have seen the video of the blind man being driven around. And sometimes we should ask ourselves, why Google is so interested in the self-driving car? I have to confess to you, I was very slow in understanding. At the beginning, I said, well, Google does everything, so they also do the self-driving car. But then I realized, if you take America, the average driving time to work is 1 hour. The time to drive back is another hour, so it's 2 hours. If you multiply 2 hours per every driver per 360 days a year, you create a tremendous amount of time where you free people from the act of driving and you make people available for what Google does best, advertising. So that's where the economics here. That is why Google is so interested in creating so much time where people, instead of being busy driving, they can be Googling. They can be Googling things and so consuming advertising. And this is what Google does. So we need to look at things beyond what they appear and just look at the economics, because the economics behind is actually showing where things are going. But how should we interpret these changes? So digital, we have to go digital. I like this guy. He says, Domino's Pizza, we are a tech company selling pizza. This is exactly what is happening today. Banks are software companies dealing with money. Fashion manufacturers are software companies dealing with design and customer relationships. Dealers are becoming software companies dealing with customers. This is a fundamental shift. You have to look at your company as a software company. The value you create and the value you can take home today is related to the value of the data you have. Possibly consumer data. This is what the market buys. This is what the market pays for. So a dealer in the past was a dealer managing cars and then finding the customers. Today, it's time to switch. A dealer is managing the customer. And then he sells the customer a car, a warranty, a mobility package, or maybe a baby monitor. It's a reversal in the DNA. Are you prepared for this? This is a fundamental shift. And a lot of dealers I meet, I talk to, all over the world, then they ask me, what about my store? What about my walls, my mortgage, my investment? Because all the world is going digital. Well, I said there are good news. Look at this guy, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. This is news from February, very recent, February this year. He is planning to expand into physical stores. Isn't this fascinating? The traditional world is going into the digital space, and the biggest digital retailer in the world is coming into physical stores. This, for me, is the best proof that is telling us that the physical store is alive, can be alive, only if you fuel it with digital energy, only if you transform it into a digital place. This is the key transformation. Then the physical place will survive. So this is the time, this is the age. We're not going to speak about e-commerce. We're not going to speak about the digital. The physical and the digital come together. And your smartphone is actually the thing that is making this convergence happen. We can be in physical stores, I can be in one of your dealerships and browse product and price information. Or I can sometimes buy something from my sofa and then collect it in the store physically. So this is the connection point, and this is where the convergence happens. If you do not want to be part of this convergence, if you want to just maybe improve your physical presence or maybe do a little bit of digital, I am afraid you're going to be out of the game. And this is what makes the big difference. This is what really, in the hands of people, is actually pushing this convergence. Now, one of the messages I think is most important to dealers, but also to other companies: do not create a digital department. Don't create a digital department. You know why? It's like you create an innovation department. What happens when you create an innovation department? It's like you tell the rest of the company that it doesn't have to innovate. Think of it. If I have an innovation department, it means that the rest of the company doesn't have to innovate. If I have a digital department, it means the rest of the company can stay non-digital. No. The idea is that you have to think of a digital company. You have to become a digital company. A digital department can only be a temporary place where you can have some competencies, some tools, some energy to transform the company. So be very careful when you redesign your organization. You have to look at this transition, and a digital department can only be a temporary tool into a new era. So what does it mean to become a digital company? What does it mean in practice? You are dealers, you are making decisions, you're selling cars, you're opening stores, centralizing back office. You have to make decisions every day, every week. Well, becoming digital is a job, is a task. You need effort, you need focus. You need to change attitude. Think of communication, for example. You know, everybody told us you have to get the email. But the data is also showing to us that the email sometimes doesn't get read. The text message gets read and prompts into action. Think of yourself, maybe a lot of emails, but the text, you're going to read it. What does it mean? It means that the protocol, the etiquette, the style is changing. It has to be adapted. We need a new grammar. We need a new vocabulary, a new clock to manage the contact with the customer and deciding when it's okay to send an email or when it's okay to send a text with care, because you can kill a relationship in a moment. And also, we know about the importance of the speed. It's always been said for many years. You have to reply fast, yes. But some data and recent studies are showing that speed is important, yes, but also the quality of the response is very important. So when you speak digital, you need to adopt a new language. You don't just have to translate a typical reply into an email. You have to think digital, you have to think emails. So you need to work on the quality of the response. You need to have people in charge of managing this dialogue. And becoming digital means using the data. This is an example of brands I just took from a recent study by a European company, which fashion brands globally are segmenting the communication if it's going to a man or a woman. It's not rocket science, but these brands are already doing it. Balenciaga, Dior, Burberry. If they have your contact, when they email to you, the type of message and the pace of the message will differ if you're a man or if you're a woman. Are you doing this with your database? Most dealers, in my evidence, are not yet doing this. So there are steps that we need to work on. Why? Because the customers wants to be spoken at in the proper manner. And this is very simple. This is just male-female. This is not rocket science. It's one of the most basic segmentation in communication what we need to do. But our systems are allowing us to do if we have enough focus. Another thing, digital means that yes, our product is important, but the context is very important. The story around it. Most of you will sell products that other people have. So where do you make the difference? You make the difference in the context, in the story. This is just an example of a cosmetic product, Guerlain, promoting a new bronzer for women. And in the back of the mirror, they put different images depending on the location, just to make a more intimate connection and creating a context for the product. So you need to be investing into creating your story, curating your story, narrating your story. Some people say now that storytelling is story selling. It's not just, I need a story because it's fashionable, because it's modern. I need a story because I sell the story. Today, we are one click away from everything. Probably everything you sell can be bought somewhere else. Why should people buy from you? They would buy your story. And it is the story that digitally you can convey in a very interesting way. This is another example. This is the Mercedes GLA. It is showing to us the mat covering the back of the car. And look, this is a way, I don't just show you the product, I put it into context. I create a story, and I just picked it as an example. And this is exactly the type of work we have to do today. Every dealer is a marketing player, and marketing is about creating and curating your story around the products you sell, mixing them, putting them together. Remember, consumers will buy the story behind the product. And if the product is not yours, and is the same that is being sold by others, that's where you need to invest more energy into the story. This is Tom's, for example, the shoes. When I buy Tom's, I know I buy something more. Tom's will give a pair of new shoes to a child that needs them. And it's not just about charity or social responsibility. That's a story. That's an authentic story that makes that different from other players. And digital means feedback, means metrics, means having the numbers back, fast, quick, now. Otherwise, it becomes too late. Choose the measures that are important and track them. And this is a company from Sweden, if I remember correctly. They sell jeans. What I like about this company is that the relationship attitude. They say, buy the jeans, break them in. If you like jeans, you know that they become your jeans. You start making them your jeans. You wear them, you break them. And then they say, come to us, to a store. We like to repair them for you, so you can wear them again. And then you can reuse them. And then when they are broken so much that we cannot repair them, we will recycle them. You buy a new pair. I like this. This is an idea of a cycle. This is a customer relationship cycle that we want to maintain. This is exactly what the car industry is trying to do. But this has to be done in a convincing way, that everybody in your organization should wake up in the morning and understand that we don't just have to kill a sale. We have to nurture a relationship. It's like a plant we have in the terrace. We need to put some water every day so it can grow and not just buy it once a year. Somebody said, a little over 15 years ago, markets are conversations. I think this is one of the most interesting definitions that is helping us to understand what we should do. Because traditional marketing is about talking. I do this. This is my product. This is my brand. This is my price. Markets are conversations. Today, it means that we have to learn to listen. A typical mistake that I see dealers when they use social media. They use social media to keep on talking. Social media is wonderful to listen. So make sure that in your companies, you're not just using the tools in an old way, but you're using the tools in the proper way. Learning to listen is important because by listening, I get the customer data, and the customer data is what makes the value of my company. This is an example of another cosmetic company, Shiseido, in Tokyo. It's the same window in two different moments. You see the lady with the red top, the window becomes red. The lady with the blue top, the window becomes blue. It's a very simple technological thing, but for me it's a message that we're telling the customer, we see you, we know you are here, we respect you. Whereas in some cases, you can enter a showroom or a store and nobody even talks to you. So technology is helping us to communicate ways, new ways for the customer to feel listened to. And this is very important because customers want to be feeling that they are listened to. So, interpreting digital, how to become digital. What does it mean to be omni-channel? Because this is now very fashionable to say, to talk about omni-channel. What does it mean? Well, we know now that customers are going and using different channels. They use the website, they browse the mobile, they might use a kiosk, they send an email, then they click on the social media with a like, they might call the call center, they might browse some digital prints, they can search on Google. So we understand that this is a multi-channel thing. So multi-channel, many channels that the customers are using. But we have to understand better that there are steps beyond this. Cross-channel, what does it mean, cross-channel? It means that many companies today in many markets behave like this. I buy online a product, and then maybe I want to exchange it, and I can do it in the store. This is cross-channel. Or maybe I bought it in the store. I want to exchange it online. This is cross-channel. And it starts to be difficult because you need to have the data to know what happens between the physical store or the commerce, digital commerce side. So omni-channel is the direction, is the goal, is the difficult goal. Omni-channel means that you can integrate all your information and be coherent and consistent across all channels. Omni-channel means that you can make it work all together, that you can make it work so that customers make their own journey. And this is where the problem starts, when the manufacturer specifies a specific standard process, because in most cases the customer wants his own process or her own process. It wants to start maybe online, visit the store, go back, and then click. It's very difficult to put a straight jacket, to put it into prison. So becoming omnichannel is a way to understand that we need to integrate the metrics, we need to integrate all the data at the back office, so that the difference between a physical store or e-commerce site is just a technical aspect. Alessi is a brand that tried to use the technology because Alessi sells with independent stores. It's not very different from the auto industry. But Alessi has a lot of products, over 3,000 types of products. And they know that in a typical store, they can display in stock only maybe 8%, less than 10%. So they convinced the store to use iPads and to sell also products that are not in stock. Normally you would say, a store wants to sell only the products he has in stock. But Alessi convinced them to promote also this type of sales because they might have a smaller margin, but they also have a smaller cost because they don't hold the stock. So this means thinking new ways of sharing the rewards across the channels. Omnichannel and cross-channel is also about events. This is what Nike did in New York recently, creating a special event, selecting with a campaign some specific customers. You received an email with a special invitation, a password code. You could go inside in a specific time and inside the store buy special edition shoes. So again, it's a combination of digital and physical converging with the event dynamics. We're also in a time where everything is available 24/7. It's very important to create events, special editions, special situations, not just the typical open weekend. We need to create new stories and making customers want to move and join our new story, which is different from the previous one. So omnichannel is complex because you have different stages, different players, different times. Imagine I can see a product for the first time in a channel, then somebody gets my information in a different channel, and then I test, I want to drive the car or try the jacket in a different place, then I purchase in a different place, then I get delivered in a different place. Can you see? This is the multiplicity of channels. So who wins is who is capable of working a system of rewards. I believe over the next years, manufacturers and dealers in the auto industry will have to work in ways in which everyone gets a compensation for specific activities he did in this big journey. Maybe I just did support with the test drive and the delivery. Maybe I did the negotiation, or I did some product specification explanation. Maybe I did some first registration of the email contact. It is about finding the right compensation for the right activity. This is not easy, this will be difficult, but the first we start into devising this, the better it will work. And so because consumers are multi-channel, they're cross-channel, they're omni-channel, do not make the mistake of measuring channels separately. Some dealers are saying, oh, this is the number of physical visits and the number of contracts. Oh, this is the number of emails and the sales online. No, because these things are mixing. You risk measuring ghosts or measuring multiple ghosts. You need to have an integrated measure. You are one store. Leads come to you with an email, with a phone call, with a walk-in, and then you close sales. There has to be one metric through the channels. Remember that it's very important to study customer disengagement. I see that the best dealers now are focusing on studying why I lost that customer. Why I had the hot lead, I set up the appointment, we had the drive, we had things, and then he didn't buy. So studying the reason for disengagement is a very valuable activity. You have to invest focus, time, and systems into that. Data, going back to data. Today, if market are conversations, and I need the market because I need to sell, then I need to know how to manage the conversation. How? I need the data to know which is the best content, the best channel to use, and the best moment. It's different from the past. It's more difficult, but it's the only way. I need the data so I can manage the conversations. Remember, if a dealer becomes a software company, has a future. Otherwise, I will bet an important sum of money it will not have a future. Remember that this data is also very important for customer reactivation. The best companies are managing the life cycles, and they are good in reactivating the customers. Do not let the customers deactivate. If all your company is about leads, and new leads and sales, you risk losing sight of the reactivation of your existing or past customers. So make sure that the incentives for your team are in line with the strategy. And in fact, you need to convince your team to work on this experience. You need to explain your team that this is happening now. And you need to convince them with organizational processes, bonuses, that this is where the company should go. Sometimes you should reward more and compensate more people that got you data than a single sale. market data can be more valuable than an extra car sold. How are we playing our incentives? This is the question. And remember, even in the digital world that now we have entered, we still believe in a rule, like an American poet said, people will forget what you say, they will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. This means that what we have to work on is on customer experience. Convince your team to work on customer experience and customer data. First and before every other thing, when you wake up in the morning, when you have a company meeting, because this will determine the survival and the chances of success of your company. Thank you and good luck.